Probably not working very well. Okay, everybody, good evening. It's Friday evening. It is October the 5th, 2018, and welcome to Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How-Tos. Hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all having a good week, or had a good week, whatever the case may be. Right, what we're going to talk about today. So, let's see, I've got a list of things now so I don't lose track of what I'm actually supposed to be saying and supposed to be doing. So, topics we've got tonight coming up. Overclocking RAM. Now, this is something which I've done recently, last couple of days. Overclocking RAM, something I've not really done much of before, and to be honest with you, I was amazed how easy it was. So we'll have a little bit of a chat about that. HDMI output on the Lumix G7. Now, I found a new way of getting a decent clean output on the G7, which hopefully you can see at the moment. And if Kath in a minute presses some buttons or does some stuff on there, hopefully you will not see it on the stream, which is great news, because every time you move the camera before, it would show up on the screen and it was awful and it wouldn't go away for ages. So that's all good. Fitbit synchronization issues. Oh my God, Fitbit, what a absolute pain in the butt if you're using an Android phone. But it's not all Android phones. We'll get on to more about that a little bit later on. Windows 10 update, the 1809 update, the October update for 2018, which for some people is being a real pain in the butt and is losing files and losing settings. But we'll talk a little bit more about that again. So if you've got any questions about that, or you've done the upgrade, let me know in the comments section below, or let me know in the chat if you've tried the upgrade, if you've done the upgrade, if it's worked for you, if you've had problems, all that sort of stuff. And we'll be talking about that later as well. What else have we got? Oh, my special bargain basement motherboard, the Gigabyte AX370M DS3H, which has turned out to be a real odd thing. A very weird product. I don't get it, I don't understand it, and it actually does scare me a little bit, so that's why I'm keeping it to the side, just in case. What else are we talking about? GPU prices, component prices in general for PC components, and all that kind of good stuff for building PCs and upgrading PCs. But there's some really weird stuff happening in the market at the moment. We've got prices rising, we've got prices falling, and there's lots of different reasons because of trade tariffs, EU, Brexit, etc., supply, demand, you name it, it's all going on. Of course, we've got Christmas coming up into the mix as well, so that's causing some problems. But again, we're going to talk about that a little bit later as well. And to wrap up tonight, we're going to talk about some Christmas stuff. Yeah, Christmas. Oh, I haven't got my Christmas hat, damn it. Never mind. Anyway, so we're going to talk about some cheap and cheerful Christmas gadgets and ideas for your loved ones and people you have to buy for. So let's have a quick look in the chat and see who is in with us tonight at the moment. If I could actually get the right window up, that would be fantastic. So pop out chat, here we go. It's not loaded. Charles Arnold, yay, Charles Arnold's in the house, Harvey Lyndon's in the house. Burn92 plays. Hello, how are you? I'm very good. Kath is very good. Well, we're reasonable. We're not good. We're pretty reasonable. We've had some weird news today, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about that, but it's been a bit weird and it's something that's been playing on my mind, but I'm not going to go into it too much. So if I'm not my usual effervescent self, then I do apologise. Epic Gamer 9000, million, 100,000 things. Hello, how are you? Epic Gamer, every video I do, you comment on almost the first, and we salute you. The comments are always a little bit odd, but thank you anyway. Paul Donaldson, good evening, Paul Donaldson. Mike, thoughts on PlayStation Classic and what games you think I should be on it? Well, that's a big question and something we'll have to look at a little bit later, I think. And Welsh Tony's unboxing, reviews and guides. Give it up, everybody, for Welsh Tony's in the house as well. You late? I was a little bit. It was like a minute or two late, maybe a minute. What did I say? I had to go and have a wee. Man drinks, man have to wee. Anyway, good to see you guys all with us tonight. For those of you who aren't in the chat that are watching as well, good evening to you. Hope you've had a great weekend, like I just said. So let's start from the beginning. What have I been doing this week? So this week, what have I been doing? I've been overclocking RAM. That was the latest one I've done. Now, I don't know if you guys have done it before, or actually to look at it another way, have you got a PC? Chances are probably yes if you're watching this, because that is pretty much what this channel is centered on, so you probably have. Have you got RAM in your PC? There's a very strong chance you have got RAM in your PC. Now, if it's DDR4, the chances are the RAM that you've got, all of it, pretty much all of it when it's made or comes out of the factory, is a standard speed, which is 2133 megahertz. So manufacturers and production plants, etc., they tweak it to see what the RAM will actually function at as they increase the clock speeds, the frequencies, the latency, and all that kind of stuff. And you end up getting some crazy clock speeds. Some of it will reach 3000 gigahertz, megahertz. Some will go higher, some will go to even like 4000 megahertz, which is crazy. But basically it's all the same stuff, just with tweaks in either the amount of electricity that passes through it, and then when they get it to exactly where they want it to be, they call that an XMP profile. So that is when basically an overclocked piece of RAM, you click on XMP in your motherboard and you're all good. Your RAM will then go magically from 2133 or 2400, it will magically go up to 3000, 333, 320, whatever it may be. But if you're a little bit brave and you don't mind having a little bit of a go yourself and you don't mind going into the BIOS, which these days is really, really easy, because BIOS is essentially all mouse clicks. There's not really a great deal you can do. It's not like a command line thing, and it's not like the old days with the blue screens where you had to navigate around with the cursor keys. It's all pretty straightforward and a pretty decent GUI or graphical interface. So if you get the RAM, like I did, I bought some really cheap RAM, the Corsair Vengeance LPX 2133 RAM, which basically nobody wants because it's the slowest of all the DDR4, I think, pretty much, apart from there was a weird kind of crossover between DDR3 and 4 where they're... Anyway, I digress. Basically, it's pretty crap RAM, but you can buy it really cheap. If you look on eBay, look on your Facebook groups, look at anywhere you can get stuff secondhand, recycled, whatever, you can generally find it a lot cheaper than the kind of the contemporary RAM, like your 2800s, 3000s, 31, whatever it is, basically the higher clock speeds, or the RGB stuff, because RGB stuff wasn't really around when DDR4 actually first came out. Which actually makes you think DDR4's been out actually for a hell of a long time. Oh well, soon be DDR5, and then we'll have another conversation about it. But anyway, so if you don't mind going into your BIOS settings, you can go in, you can overclock the hell out of RAM. At the moment in the system behind me, which you can possibly not see because my head is in the way, so I will discreetly move to the side, and you may be able to see it now. I can't see because the screen's over there. But anyway, so in the PC behind me, that's my Asus Prime X370 motherboard. Now the RAM that's in there is the G.Skill RGB, which is from the factory overclocked or XMP to 2400. So I thought to myself, well, it must go faster than that with the right settings. Now out of the box, that stuff comes with 1.2 volts. So I thought, well, I'll give it 1.3 and see what we can do. And you'd be amazed at how much performance you can actually get out of that RAM. Now, contrary to a comment I actually had on one of my other videos, which is what actually sparked all this, basically someone sent me a message on the video for the PC build I did for Calf's PC. And when I actually first started talking about this cheap Corsair RAM that I got off the group, and it was cheap, it was like £35 a stick for 8 gigs, which is pretty mental if you think about it, especially today's prices. You're looking at 60, 70, 80 pounds for 8 gigs. So, where was I? I completely lost my track. Yeah, so expensive RAM, I put it in there, overclocked it a little bit. Actually, no, sorry, going back. Why did I go ahead to do this? Oh, one of those days today. That's why I'm late, completely frazzled. Basically, yeah, the guy said by putting slow RAM in my Ryzen system, I'm completely crippling it. Now, I kind of replied and said that crippling it is probably a little bit on the harsh side, which it is. It's not crippling the system by any means. It still runs a lot faster than any of my other machines. It's Ryzen 7 1700. It runs really well. It doesn't seem to be held back in any way. But I kind of agreed that maybe I could squeeze a little bit more performance out of it with faster RAM, as the kind of AMD Infinity Fabric does like that kind of stuff. So in for a penny, in for a pound with the Corsair RAM first of all, added voltage, loosened off the CAS latencies by one step at a time, and then just increased the clock speed or frequency one jump at a time. And I got some really, really good results. with no other real changes. I got up to 3000 megahertz from 2133, so that's like a third faster, which actually did have a noticeable effect on the system overall and did make it a bit more snappy in use. And games did gain a few extra points or frames per second. Doesn't actually translate to a lot of things. Basically, anything which is CPU intensive, you will see massive gains in it. Something like Counter-Strike Source, video editing, anything CPU intensive will see massive benefits. Don't get me wrong, it will. But in general, if you're a gamer, then you're looking at maybe single, if a push double figure frame rate increases, depending obviously where you're at to begin with anyway, and depending on a lot of the other stuff in the system. But just to prove a point, when the guy said that I'd crippled the system by using that RAM, I basically proved my point that A, it wasn't crippled to begin with, and B, I could get the same performance out of that RAM rather than spending double the money on getting much more expensive RAM, which kind of I felt good about. So I proved the point. I don't need to buy expensive RAM. Yes, it would have been nice to have RGB, and it would be nice to just go into the BIOS and flick the XMP setting on and for it to do what it's supposed to do straight out of the box, but it didn't. I had to get involved and it all worked out fine, and I saved a boatload of money. So that was the story of the RAM. I'm still going to be going through the same process with my G-Skill RAM, which you can see in the background. So that's going to be happening over the next hopefully day or two, and then I'll keep you updated. I'll probably do another video actually specifically for that type of RAM, because it is really popular RAM. There's a lot of it out there on the market, and it'd be nice to get it to sort of perform a little bit better. And actually, as a matter of fact, if you go to user benchmark, if you look at the Corsair LPX DDR4 2133, my score that I uploaded is actually the fastest of all of that brand of RAM. So it's in the 100th percentile of all benchmarks. So done pretty well, pretty pleased. I think a lot of that is actually down to the Asus motherboard, which actually is a fantastic board. And if you look, teeth are falling out. If you look for a decent AM4 motherboard, and you're not too bothered about going for the X470 or X450, then the X370 Prime Pro you can pick up for really good prices from around about £80 upwards. It's a really good board, does allow a lot of stuff, overclocking, USB-C and all that kind of stuff, so well worth looking at. So let's have a quick look in the comments and see what people are talking about. Oh my goodness, there's a lot of stuff to catch up on. Who have we got? Oh, there's loads of stuff. There's too many people watching. RetroPie, I don't have RAM, I have memory. Very good, thank you Tony. Just upgraded to a 500 gig SSD. Thinking about the Mobo soon to an Asus B450M. That's a micro ATX, I think, isn't it? The M on the end normally stands for the micro ATX, but sounds like a cool board. Other topics include 100 gigabyte of data for 20 quid from 3. Now actually, I don't know if it's actually, Tony has already started on this or not, but Tony's been having problems with 3. He ordered his new Samsung S8 or S8 Plus, one of the two, and he was told he would get it next day, and it looks like he's going to have to wait a long time for it. So 3. In actual fact, I've had a lot of problems with 3 in the past. I had a iPhone 3GS when they first came out, and it was fine while I was with 3, but trying to leave them was absolutely unbearable. Every time I tried to phone them to cancel the contract, murder to get through to, they didn't really get the grasp of what I was trying to do. And because I actually turned the phone on with the SIM in it, which I was trying to cancel, they actually took that as being me wanting to stay with them, and then continued billing me with a new contract for another month. And then that month turned into another month. So it took me about 3 months in total to actually get out of my contract with 3, which was horrendous. Anyway, let's have a look, see what else we got in here. Ninja's bought a RX 580 Strix for £190 on eBay. Oh, but there's horrendous coil whine. Now there are actually ways of reducing coil whine, which I'm not going to go into in this stream, but I am actually planning on doing a video, because I'm noticing now the EVGA GTX 970, which is in the PC behind me, the streaming PC, When I'm playing Far Cry 5 on it, there is a definite coil whine under load, which is not real bad, but it's enough to be annoying. So I am going to be doing a video shortly on how to either reduce or eliminate coil whine altogether. So make sure you click on the like button, subscribe button, and stuff like that. So when I release it, you get to see it. So hopefully that'll be handy for you, Ninja. Welsh Tony, send it back, yeah. There's Seneca Douglas. Good evening, how are you? Or good, well, whatever it is, wherever you are. Good day, I think we should say. Hey guys, the drink of choice tonight is, now Paul Donaldson has actually raised a very interesting question now. What is the choice of drink? Because at the moment I've got nothing and I'm parched. I've just had a jacket potato with cheese and beans, so I've got about as much salt in me as I can possibly take. I am actually going to wither away here on the spot, in front of you, live on camera. There is going to be a death on YouTube. Now, probably saying death on YouTube is probably not a good idea, because no doubt Google are listening and they're going to flag this video as inappropriate now. Oh, and as if by magic, the shopkeeper appeared with a cup of tea. So tea is what I'm drinking currently to wash down my jacket potato, cheese and beans. But what are you guys drinking? Let me know in the comments. Burn 92 Blaze. For my Ryzen build, I bought DDR 3200 MHz. Could I potentially overclock it higher with XMP2 or Trias timings? Right, basically, if you're overclocking, if you're overclocking RAM, the easiest way of doing it, turn off XMP. If you look on the memory stick itself, have I got one to hand? Yes, I have. I've probably just crushed the microphone. Okay, so, got your stick of RAM. I don't know if I'm going to be able to focus on this, but on the back of it, normally, there will be a sticker which will give you the profile of the RAM and what it can do. See if that's, I think that's focused okay. Is that focused? You guys will have to let me know. But anyway, you get the general idea. So that is where you look for your RAM settings, or look on the packaging if you bought new. And on there, it will tell you the settings. So in this case, it's like 13, 15, 15, 28, which is like really super tight timings. So basically you can loosen the timings or lessen the timings to increase the frequency. So it's all kind of a balancing act. So you can either have super low latency RAM, which runs at a lower frequency, or you can have higher latency RAM, which runs at a higher frequency. Now, if you've got a CPU which likes frequency rather than latency, then obviously don't bother changing it because there's no point. But you get the idea. But basically, the numbers on there are 13, 15, 15, 28. So you could go in originally, I went in because I misread the 13, so I thought it was 15, 15, 15. So I tried it first of all at 16, 16, 16, 38 for some reason. And then I managed to bump it right up. So those timings on the last section were like super loose. They're like flares in the 70s loose. So after a while playing with it, I managed to sort of bring it back in. And you can try and then bring the timings tighter. So keep on testing, tighten the timings up, basically until you get crashes or instability. But I may well do another video on the overclocking as I get more into it and I feel more confident with it. So then maybe I'll give you guys an idea of how to do it. Probably bore you all to death. Although if you've got young children who aren't sleeping, you can put them in front of Mikesunboxing's videos and it does actually aid natural sleep. Just putting that in there. Or you could use it as a punishment if you live in a masonette or you live in a bungalow and you don't have stairs and you don't have a naughty step, then you can always put a laptop with my videos on and that serves as equal punishment, and they generally don't misbehave after watching these videos, so feel free to use it. Right, see what else got. There's loads of questions here. Kathy, you're gonna have to go through and see, you're gonna have to pot out some, let me know. Nope, not focused, do you know what I mean? Paul Donaldson's drinking Little Craft Beer, Brewdog, Black Sheep and Camden Hells. That sounds interesting. I'm very tempted later on as the evening progresses. I'm thinking ginger beer with ice and spiced rum. Quite a concoction. Kathy, okay? You in the snug drinking gin? No, she's basically looking through all the messages and answering them and smoking as fast as her lungs will take it. Hey Adam, I saw Adam's name just now, The Blind Divide. I think I did. He said hello somewhere along the line, so good evening Adam, hope you're all as well with you. Keep on, are you still playing in the band, hopefully? I haven't had my free CD yet to use as backing tracks for Mikesunboxing. Paul Donaldson, Mike, the camera in front of you, any good? Oh, this one, the Thei i60e. Yes, actually, that is something I'm going to come to later. That is part of the kind of the Christmas gift ideas, because this is a really cool kind of GoPro clone, as you can tell by the very GoPro-esque cage that it comes with. But these are super, super cheap, but I've got a lot of really good features which you don't actually get on GoPros as well. You've got things like a screen on the back so you can see what's going on, Wi-Fi connection, all that sort of stuff, but I'll go into that a little bit later. But yeah, long story short, if you look on Amazon, Thei i60e, this one, you should find it pretty cheap, and it's yeah, it's pretty good. I've had it for a long time. And actually, if you look on some of my older videos later on, or now if you're bored, I did actually do a review of this, and I did some underwater photography. Well, I say underwater, it was in a bowl in the kitchen sink. And I did some slow motion of rain, I think. And what else was in it? There's something else in it, I can't remember.
It's draining on the plug hole.
Oh yeah, water draining down the plug hole in slow motion on this thing. The slow motion's actually not bad, it's only 720p, but it's, yeah, it's pretty good. Maybe Kath needs to come on screen with the products of the week. If I could get her to come on camera, do you think I'd be sat here? You know what it is, sex sells. So if I could get her in front of the camera, it'd be a lot easier. I'd get more viewers, more subscribers. Think Bitwit. That's a little bit of shame. Camden Hells is boss, but spice rum. Yeah. Banging in that monetization funds here, yeah. Adam, my band's music would definitely affect your subs negatively. Oh, I don't believe that. I think, is it death metal? Or is that a thing? Have I just made myself look a complete dick? Or would it be classed as hard rock? I don't know. What I know about music, you could write on the back of that screen. So Mike, you're trying to say Kath is like Cruella de Vil? No, not really. She would love to be, well, actually, no, she wouldn't love to be on camera. I think she probably would, deep down, but she has insecurities and doesn't want to do it. So, I can't force her to do it. I tried her hypno, didn't work. I didn't, that's a joke. Sorry, everybody. For anyone who's been affected badly by the negative effects of hypno, please call the toll-free number below. Mike, send the Christmas camera to the Alder Hey Kids Hospital in Liverpool for kids to make films for their families. That will be boss, and I will take you to good bars in Liverpool. Mike, are you talking about the Moto phone? Love product reviews. Actually, no, the reason that was there, the Moto phone, that was from a previous video, which I've kind of started and didn't do, is the Moto G4 4th gen, this particular phone, was probably one of the most popular budget phones of its era or generation. So probably a year to 18 months ago, it was basically the best you could buy for the money. I think I paid roughly about £130 for this, and 5.5 inch 1080p screen, octa-core processor, 16 gig storage, 2 gig RAM, 4G, 2 cameras, 13 megapixel and 5 megapixel, and a 3000 amp hour battery. Now that effectively is pretty much the spec of most phones, almost now actually. Obviously the processor's changed, etc., and you get a little bit more RAM, but that was basically the turning point for budget phones. When this came out at Motorola, it was really, really popular. But the thing is, it's stuck on Android 7, which, as we all know, is good, but it's not great, and it's not very up to date. And I like to have my software up to date, hence why the Windows 10 update I did a couple of days before it actually came out, because I want to have the new updates. For some bizarre reason, maybe I was spanked as a child. Anyway, so yeah, you can't really update this very much, and I wanted to install Lineage OS, which is like a kind of a custom ROM based on what was, I can't think of the name now, but there was basically an offshoot and you could get custom ROMs and it was quite clean and fast, etc., etc. But then you have to do all this weird stuff like unlocking the bootloader, and to do that you have to go through Motorola and they have to give you a key, and there's all these hoops you've got to jump through. So I'm thinking, actually, is it actually still a viable phone, like now, 2018, 2019, is this still a viable phone as your daily driver? And should you get one? So that is going to be in a video coming up. So hopefully I've not bored you all to death. But if you do want one, I would recommend it actually. This served me well for a long time. The only problem I had with it was I didn't get sounding calls, which I've now kind of found why I didn't get sounding calls. So I could actually quite easily go back to using that, and it is actually a lovely phone.
Did we do the first videos?
In fact, actually, some of the first videos on the YouTube channel were actually filmed entirely on this camera. We just plugged the old Boya microphone in at some point and used this thing, and it was great. The camera, the 13 megapixel camera, it doesn't sound like a lot of little megapixels, but those little megapixels in there really do count, and they do look sharp. So definitely, yeah, if you're after a cheap phone, if you can get a G4, you can pick them up second hand now for like 50, 60 quid. So I would definitely recommend it, but is it still suitable with Pi coming out and not having an Oreo update? I don't know, difficult one. But we'll go into that in more detail in another video. So that's not a bad idea actually. Maybe I might do that. I might send one of these cameras or a GoPro or something to that children's hospital. That sounds like a nice thing to do actually. And if there's any fat kids, they can have some of the XXL t-shirts I've got stuck upstairs in the loft. No, I didn't say. Kath's saying no. It's so it's deaf metal. It's metal for deaf people. Okay. Just wow. Oh, I do apologise. This is a bit of humour. You've got a bit of humour in your life. I do genuinely feel sorry for anyone who's got any kind of mental illness, physical illness, any disability and all that. I've kind of been there, worn a t-shirt for most of it, so I do understand where they're coming from, but humour, you still got a bit of humour at the end of the day. So, especially with things as they are on this crazy planet at the moment, everyone's gone a bit crazy, so you gotta have a laugh when you can. Good man about the camera and send fat kids a big chocolate bar. Hey, if there's chocolate in this house, it is going in there or in the calf. Yeah, actually. Well, actually, hold that thought. Now, this is completely off topic. No, it's actually not a topic, it's a Snickers. But that is what I've seen in the shop today. A Snickers white. What? I don't even... Limited edition Snickers white. There's a Twix white, and is there a Topic as well? Well, maybe that's going to come soon, but basically it's like Snickers white. That is like dog poo used to be in the 70s. If any of you can remember seeing white dog poo, give me an F in the comments. Anyway, that's enough of that. I'm not gonna do an unboxing on the Snickers bar at the moment because I probably had too much sugar and stuff already today. Is the stream buffering for anyone else? Oh dear. Is it buffering, Kath? It may not be buffering, it's just me yet. Right, so we've talked about overclocking the RAM, we've talked about Oh, HDMI output in the menu. Did I talk about that already a little bit? Losing my mind altogether. Yeah, for any of you guys out there that are into your photography or streaming or making videos or whatever, if you haven't got a Lumix G7 or a Panasonic Lumix camera, this is going to be of no interest to you, so I'm going to go through it pretty quickly. But basically, I said before that I could use the HDMI output. I'm running it currently through a Elgato H60S external box into OBS. But the problem is I had before, if Kath pressed anything on the camera, immediately it would come up and show kind of all the bars and the kind of like the horizon, the microphone levels and all that kind of stuff. And after a few minutes or 60 seconds or whatever it was, it would all go and you'd get your nice clean display back. So I made a video about basically how to do a clean display by, like I said, just letting it time out. And someone actually replied saying, if you make a video like this, make sure you know what you're talking about. Which is fair enough, I'm not a photographer, so I'll take that one. I'll take that one for the team. But then he said, all you have to do is go into the fifth menu, such and such, go into TV output and turn HDMI to clean or something. So it is actually in the menu. It's in a really obscure place, so you have to kind of write it down. There's like 3 or 4 steps to get to it, but basically you do it, and then you can use the camera for live streaming or as a webcam or whatever you want to use it as. But the output feed, which I can see just here on my OBS screen, is completely clean. So, Kath, actually, do you want to twist the focus dial a little bit? Hold the bottom of the camera though, because otherwise you'll knock it off, because it's not very steady. So normally, just by doing any kind of adjustment on the focus, all the stuff on the screen would come on and it would be a mess. Notice the rapid autofocus there on the Lumix G7, which I've also figured out the optimal settings for, which that'll be in another really boring video which no one's probably interested in, but I'm going to do it anyway for the geeky photographers out there. Just might be this rubbish computer. Oh, Tony and his poor capacitorless computer. So that was the update I did on the Lumix G7. So I made a new video. I put a link in the video, or mentioned the guy in the video to say thank you for pointing out. So genuinely to the subscriber who pointed out, thank you very much. And if you're watching this video, you've saved me loads of hassle and it's great. And I've shared a video and made it and all that sort of stuff. So it was great. Thanks. Cheers. Okay. So now on to other more boring stuff. Fitbit. Now, my channel has done loads of videos. 350 roughly at the last count. Yep, 350. So we've been doing this now for getting on for nearly 18, 19 months maybe. About 19 months. So we've done 350 videos, give or take a few, and there's probably a good 20 or 30 more which have never seen the light because they were bloody awful, which is quite worrying actually, because if they're worse than this, they must be really bad. But anyway, they're gone, they're never going to see the light of day. But I'm digressing. So a lot of the videos, if you look through, if you just type in Fitbit on my page, there's probably, I would imagine there's probably at least 10 videos related to Fitbit and trackers and stuff like that. And they've always been a real pain in the ass. Now, I like my cheap and cheerful, as you well know, so no iPhone for me. Been there, done that, not doing it again. And even with the old trusty Moto G and my current daily driver, which is the Huawei P10 Lite, which is hiding in here somewhere, and also with my son's P20, and what else did I have before? Oh, the P8 Lite. Every single one of them has had problems synchronizing with Fitbit devices. That's with a Charge HR, the Surge, which both I use and my son uses, and the Charge 2 HR as well. So all of them have had problems. They work for a couple of days, or every now and then you'll get a notification, or you'd lose stuff, or you know, like the kind of thing like you're expecting a text message or you're expecting a phone call. So your phone's on silent, you got it on your desk or something, you're carrying on doing stuff, maybe setting up the cameras in there or doing the washing up or doing whatever, you know, and you're just waiting for your wrist to start vibrating to say there's a phone call or whatever. And the amount of calls and text messages I've missed because it hasn't been synchronizing properly is unbelievable. So I was kind of like watching videos and thinking there's got to be a better way of sorting this out. I can't believe that basically Android market for Fitbit is a done deal as far as they're concerned, and they're concentrating on iPhone completely. If you've got an iPhone, basically it just works. Point blank, that's it, it just works. You install the software, you do the synchronization, and that is it. I would say, of all the people that contact us about problems with Fitbit on the website and also on YouTube, etc., the majority of them are Android users, very few iPhone. And the ones that have an iPhone and have had problems is basically been the tracker's been duff. The phone's actually been fine. So anyway, digressing. So looking into it a bit further, and people have been saying, well, try this, try that. And I did find some actually really good settings to go into the Android app and turn off power management, which seems to be a massive problem on Android phones. So power management turns the app into like low power mode. So it thinks, what was I last doing? Oh, I was synchronizing, but I'm in low power mode now, so I don't really want to do that anymore because that takes up power. So it basically cuts the communication. So you lose your messages, you lose your notifications, you lose your incoming calls, you lose your steps being tracked, you lose your heart rate. So basically the point of having a tracker is essentially useless. So by going into the app, changing those settings for power management, set it to manual, and then set all the sliders to on, perfect. And in all truthfulness, I've been using this now for the last 3 or 4 days with that setting on my phone, and it has not dropped a single beat. Notifications come through first time every time, don't miss any calls, well, unless I intentionally miss them, you know what I mean. And it's been working perfectly. So, and even if I go into the app now, I can go into the heart rate section and it'll show you my heart rate, and it's tracking all the time, working as it should. So digressing a little bit further, I went into the Fitbit site, and someone mentioned there's actually a compatibility list of phones and devices which are compatible with Fitbit software and Fitbit devices. So I was like, okay, so just because you've got Bluetooth doesn't mean your device will work. And it seems no. Because the way the Fitbit app works and the way they've written the Bluetooth stack to communicate with different devices, someone actually said they're lazy and they've just implemented a really narrow sort of framework of the stack and not adding on the other bits for other manufacturers. So if you got a Samsung Android, a OnePlus, what was the other one? I can't think which it was. But basically there's a very, very small list of phones which are Android and compatible with Fitbit. So I made a video highlighting to people, if you're looking at buying one of these, especially with the Charge 3 coming out like in 2 or 3 days time, if you're thinking of getting one of these for somebody for Christmas, definitely go to the website, which is fitbit.com/devices, I think. I've forgotten now. But basically fitbit.com, you go there, you look for compatibility. They don't make a song and dance about it. They don't tell you actually it's recommended to do it. They just assume that, well, it's okay because most of our users are going to be iPhone users or whatever. But they basically say in their terms and conditions, if your device isn't on their list of compatible devices, then essentially, sorry, you've got a Fitbit, but that's it. It might work. It might have limited functionality, which is shit, to be honest with you. I really think if they're going to sell a product and they're going to market it as being this kind of great tracker that works with Bluetooth and works on Android, it doesn't say anywhere actually works with Android, oh, unless you've got such and such. Yeah, it's just got trademark. It does actually say on the back, syncs with iOS, Android, Windows, Mac and PC. And it's got a link, a tiny link in the back, which says fitbit.com/devices, which you're probably not going to be able to see, but it is there in very small writing, which I think is a really dick move by Fitbit. Now, I've always kind of liked their products because it's been a pretty cool idea and they're quite useful and they help you to get around and move around and do more exercise than you normally would. But for me, to cheap out on that and not support all Android phones like they should, or at least not telling people about it, is crap. So anyway, that was another Fitbit video and issues that I had. Right, let's have a look at any questions here. Cap's pointing at the phone, so that means I probably have. Welsh Tony's got a 20-bit smartwatch and it works better than my old Fitbit. Oh, is that a... Actually, have I got one here? Where was that? I don't know what I've done with it now. I had a Fitbit type thing, not a Xiaomi one, it was... Oh, I can't think of the brand now. Oh well, never mind. But yeah, that was a really good one. I'm trying to get some inspiration from Kath, but she's looking more blank than I am. Now, what else? Your first video was January 2017. How sad am I to check? Even sadder if you watched them all. And it was actually on the 21st. So that is our 2-year anniversary on the 21st of January 2019, where hopefully, fingers crossed, we said last year that we wanted to have 5,000 subscribers by the end of the second year, which we're kind of almost at the moment. So I did say jokingly, well, it'd be nice if we had 6,000. So 6,000 is the kind of target we're aiming for. So help us out, share the videos, share the love, everybody. Yame. Kath just informed me Yame was the brand of the fitness tracking watch, which actually, it was really good, but I never really used it because I got my Fitbit, so it's in a box waiting to be given to someone at Christmas. Spoilers! Can I say 11 watching and only 5 likes? Come on, help Mike out. It's going to take more than a few likes to help me out, Tony. I'm well past that. But thank you anyway. I'm Paul. Right, what else we got now? Charles, seems to me that Android is always a problem. It's very geeky. Dare I say that Windows and Apple just work? Yeah, I think you're right. Fitbit didn't actually work with Windows devices particularly well, but they had the same deal, whereas if you go to their site, you put in Windows, and there was only certain models which were guaranteed to work with the Fitbit app. But the Windows Phone, for me, if it had had the development for the apps and actually gained some ground, the operating system and the whole thing, in my opinion, which is not really worth a lot, but in my opinion, I think the Windows Phone would have been better than the iPhone and also the Android ecosystem if it had broken through into those apps, into those markets. But because it didn't have the apps, it just died on its ass. But it has some really, really nice designs. And the fact that they then bought into Nokia as well, they were on the verge of creating something really special, but they didn't have the apps, so they couldn't get the market share. Simple as. But yeah, Android is a little bit geeky, and Android to me always seems a little bit like Linux. There's always someone's going to make their own kind of homebrew version of it to fit their device or their needs, which I think is where Apple have actually got it right, because they're kind of like, right, that's the operating system, that is what you get. If it doesn't work for you, we don't really care, but that is it, that is what you're getting. If you want to add stuff to it, fine, but we're not going to change it, that is what is there. Which is a good idea because it keeps everything, it makes it so that basically it works. But you do lose flexibility, options, yada yada yada, upgrades, all that kind of stuff. Tony would love 1K subscribe, or never mind 5K. Let's hope with the new studio I'll be making more videos. Yes, you should make more videos and you will get lots of subscribers. Just keep at it, keep plugging away. Even when you think to yourself, why the hell am I only getting like 20 views on this video? Just keep going, because every now and then you'll get a video which gets a lot of interest, and it only takes 1 or 2 of those and it just starts momentum going. But you just got to keep on churning those videos out, keeping it going, keep on keeping on. What else we got? Did you upload a build of the CIT F3 case last year? Yes, I did, Ninja. In actual fact, the CIT F3 case was one of the actual kind of real, not a shocker, but it was a really good case and a really good price, and it was tiny. The only thing I didn't like about it is the colour. It was a little bit OTT with the black and red. If I could have got black on black, or maybe just something a little bit less kind of in your face. I know it was designed to a price point, and it was designed to look a bit kind of like edgy or gamery or whatever. But I think if it was just done in a more subtle black, or a grey on black or something, I think that would have sold much better. Because it had all the features. It had, I think if I remember rightly, it had room for one fan on the front, 2 in the roof, 1 on the back. It had a little basement for the power supply, and it was a tiny little form factor, built-in card reader, USBs, and it was tiny, really, really tiny. With a little micro ATX board in there, you could tuck it away on a shelf or under a desk or on a desk or whatever, and it didn't take up a load of room, but it had everything you wanted. It was a really good little case. Yeah, time is money. If there isn't a customer base, then no company will develop. Yeah, that was a weird thing, that going back to the phones and stuff. It used to be that the reason that you're watching this now, probably, I imagine that most of you are probably watching it on a computer or a laptop or a phone. So those of you who are on a phone, I would imagine probably 99% of you are going to be watching this within an app, which you can comment in the comment section. Kath is for sure, I know, and if I watch content from YouTube on my mobile device, generally it's within an app. But when it comes to a PC or a laptop, I would say that most people probably won't use the YouTube app. You use a web browser. And for most things, you use a web browser. And there was a very fine line, probably about 2005, 2006, around about that sort of area, when apps didn't really exist. So everything you wanted to do, you did in a browser window, which is why Java and all those kind of things exist. So if apps never became a thing and everything was done through a web browser, the mobile phone market now would be a very, very different beast altogether. It's only apps which actually have made Android and Apple. Because why would you want an app? In fact, it's probably the worst possible thing you could have if you've got any kind of idea of security or anonymity or any of those things. Because as soon as you install an app, that app knows everything about you, your device, where you are, everything, how much you use it, how long you're on it, what data goes through it. Whereas you do that for a web browser with your like in private browsing or whatever, they know nothing at all, or very, very little. So back in the early 2000s, there was a big thing in the British government. I'm not sure about people from other countries, but definitely in England, there was this massive thing that everyone had to go out and get their passports or their social ID, or what was it they were going to call it, Kath? There was a name they called it, didn't they? Can't think what it's called now.
Some identity.
But basically you can put it, someone will put it in the comments, basically the government were trying to get everyone to have these like ID cards. I think that's what it was, just called a national ID card. But around the same sort of time as apps came out, it kind of got to the point where the British government didn't need you to have an ID card, because everybody had an ID card. And it was basically with you everywhere you went. So everything about you, everything you did, your credit card details, everything ended up on this device. And because of things like Wi-Fi and NFC and Bluetooth and what have you, wherever you went, they know where you went. So you don't need an ID card anymore. So by using apps and stuff like that, we've basically given away all of our identities and freedoms, which sounds a little bit harsh, but you can understand where I'm coming from. If we stuck to using browsers for everything, then you get to choose who knows what about you. You can turn your cookies on, you can turn your cookies off. You can have limited content, you can have full content if you subscribe to it. But then it's your choice. Whereas with apps, you think the millions and millions of people who installed Angry Birds. Now you had to install Angry Birds pretty much either from the Play Store or from iTunes Store, both of which need your email, your credit card details, your address. You may put some fake details in, but you get what I mean. Basically, they knew who you are, where you are, what you're doing, and how long you're doing it for. Which I always hoped that everything would become web-based, but we've gone a completely different direction. But anyway, so that's my rant over with. I always get on my soapbox there, but it could have been so different. Personally, I hate apps. Apps for me are the worst possible thing in the world because you have to keep on installing them, then they're in your PC or in your laptop or in your smart device or on your iPad. And then what do? They make apps bigger and then they say, oh, well, you need to upgrade your iPad now because you've only got 16 gigs of RAM and you really need 32 gigs of RAM. And then next year, 64 gigs of RAM. But in a web browser, you don't have that. You have temporary internet files. When you close it down or you close your internet temporary files, that's it. You start again from afresh. You never need to refresh the amount of memory available to your browser, which is a good thing in my opinion. But I'm interested to know what you guys think about that in the comments. So let's have a quick look through these. Paul Donaldson, I never buy Apple because the fact they make hardware obsolete. This is very true. They do make hardware obsolete, and despite what they say, it doesn't keep the dots away. And Daisy the cat appears to be on the damn table. Daisy! She wants food. Daisy, can you foxtrot Oscar, please? She's gone. Right, what was I talking about next? So, actually, that's probably, we're talking about web browsers, so we'll follow on with that with the Windows 10 1809 October update. Now, I think officially that update only came out yesterday, I want to say, but it's actually been available for manual download. If you go to Windows Update and click on Update Now or look for updates, it was available a couple of days ago. So, what's new in 1809? I've got to be honest with you, apart from a dark theme for Internet Explorer and the new copy and paste online clipboard, doesn't seem to be a great deal else in there. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes in the background, which are making things a little bit easier and a little bit smoother and removing some bugs. But generally there doesn't seem to be a massive amount in there, and if the size of the file, which is quite small, is anything to go by, it's nowhere near as disruptive or as massive as the 1803 update, which was quite painful. So, oh yeah, please. Sorry, got to get a drink. Kath says, do I want a drink? Sorry about that, chaps. Actually, next time I have a drink, I'm going to try something. Apparently there's a button on here I can press which will show an advert so I can have a break, which is good. But I'm not sure if I can stop it. Can I try it a minute? Are you guys happy if I do that? Are you going to get pissed off if I press that? I'm not sure if you can skip it or not. Let me try it. Is that okay? Let me know in the comments, guys. Oh, where's my comments gone? I can't see comments anymore. Where's the pop-out thing? Restore chat, that's the one. Yay! Welsh don't really know. Hey, C. McKnight's here. I didn't notice you crept in the back door, so to speak. Older computers are now fast enough that even 10-year-old stuff is suitable for general use. Yes, actually, you're right. And I think I'm probably going to be unpopular in saying this, but I think Windows 10 is actually going to enable that to be more of a thing. Because Windows 10 actually works on pretty minimal hardware. Now, you can run it with like 64 gigs of RAM and massive processors and all that kind of stuff like you see on Jay's 2 Cents and all those kind of things, but you can get Windows 10 to run on pretty much a potato these days. As long as you've got really 2 gigs of RAM and probably 32 gigs of storage, you can run it pretty happily with a dual core processor, even a single core people have run it with. So I think Windows 10, because of the way it's actually built and it scales really well, is going to allow older pieces of kit to be around a lot longer. Now actually, my Surface Pro 3 which I would say is probably 5 years old now, 4 or 5 years old. And that, I would say, is a relatively newish device. I've probably got actually my Dell Inspiron laptop, I think it's probably from 2006 maybe. So that's really old, but still runs Windows 10 absolutely fine. So I don't know, have you guys, I don't know if my chat's still working out or whether I'm actually online or not. Let me make this pop out again. Pop out chat. Paul Donaldson, you know what, as long as you have 8 gig or 16 gig RAM, capable broadband, you still get XP to still run. Yeah, XP was good, but it lacked some features, although realistically I could probably go back and use it now. XP was good. Windows 7 I think is always going to be a classic, and I think there was kind of universal praise for Windows 7. I don't think there was anyone who would say that Windows 7 wasn't as good or was worse than XP. I think Windows 7 was a very good generational leap for everybody concerned, the entire market. Windows 8, not so much. Windows 8 was pretty much an abomination in most of its forms, 8, 8.1. On a tablet it was okay, but on a desktop it sucked major balls. But Windows 10, give it its due. I know it's been around a little while now, but I think it's actually matured into a pretty stable and pretty flexible operating system. I'm surprised more people haven't picked it up, although I think a lot of people did pick it up because it was free and it was kind of like a forced upgrade. I think it's actually worked out well. In the latest update, I would say I haven't noticed any problems. There have been people that have had problems where it's deleted some files. I haven't actually read into that too much yet because I haven't myself had problems with it. It seemed fine. Networking still works fine. So I think it's only a limited few people that have had problems with synchronization with their documents. I think it's mostly cloud-based storage. So okay, I guess that's kind of semi-understandable, but I'm going to have to find out more about that, and I'll probably do an update video to see what all that is actually all about. Windows 2000 was the most stable, I think. I don't know. I would say, hand on heart, that side, that Windows 10, I think, has actually been the most stable operating system I've ever used. I can't honestly think of the last major problems I've had with it. I know with Windows 7 I used to get problems, and Windows Millennium, oh God, Windows Millennium. I still bear the scars from that one. But yeah, I would say Windows 10 generally, and being that I've been doing a lot of kind of testing, benchmarking, rebuilds, taking stuff out, putting stuff in, it's actually been pretty resilient. And if you can remember with Windows 2000, probably, and Windows 7 to some extent, if you changed any hardware on it, oh my God, the problems you could get. Especially with things like IDE and SATA chipsets going from AMD to Intel. You get all sorts of I/O errors, and there was all sorts of workarounds you could do in the BIOS to make it forget what IDE controllers it had and all that sort of stuff. But Windows 10 seems to me that you can just basically take anything out of it, put anything back in, and generally it will work. It may not be activated, but it'll work. It won't crash that badly. Daisy. Now unfortunately this table is generally where the cat Daisy sleeps. Because she's a black and white cat and it's a white desk, she blends in so she can hide from Flame the Destroyer, who is the antagonist or protagonist, which is the word, the dominant one.
Or the youngest.
Paul Donaldson, yes, with you on that, Mike. Windows 10 never had a blue screen of death once. Now, I'm not that lucky. I've had a few blue screens, but generally that's been where I've been pushing the hardware further than what it's meant to be. So things like overclocking the RAM. Yesterday I got some blue screens, but I was overclocking it, so that's totally acceptable in my opinion. The operating system isn't designed to take into account hardware failure, so it is going to blue screen. But general usage, stock settings, I would say Windows 10 is the far more stable operating system. I'm just going to put my flame-proof coat on now, so you guys can carry on letting me know what in the comments. Tony's had problem. What's that? Tony's had problems. Tony's had. But Tony's. I don't know. Tony, you can probably answer this one better than I can. You're missing a coil or a capacitor off your graphics card, if I remember rightly saying. Do you think any of your instability in Windows 10 is related to that, possibly? And power management? Did you notice it any worse or any better before that capacitor kind of went to the big recycling factory in the sky? Or the vacuum cleaner, wherever it went? Let us know in the comments, because it'd be interesting. Because I don't think there's many people who can hand on heart say that Windows 10 has been a problem for them. Unless they've had maybe, I guess some of the older hardware. I know some of the old RAID cards, hardware RAID cards, have been problematic for Windows 10 because of the way it handles some kind of internal IRQs or something along those lines. But that's a pretty niche market, or a niche area for them to have problems. Tony says, it was a while ago, I can't remember, wasn't anything serious though, and easy to fix. I think that's another good thing with Windows 10. Generally, it's pretty easy to fix. If it doesn't fix itself, you can run updates and stuff like that, and generally it just looks after itself. I'm a fanboy of Microsoft anyway, always have been, but I think Windows 10 is actually a good thing. I know a lot of people hate it for all its kind of spying and all that sort of stuff, but if it makes the operating system more reliable, especially in a kind of production environment like I use mine for videos, or whatever you guys use yours for, if you run your own businesses from home, or go into Pornhub or whatever it is, you want reliability. You don't want it crashing when... I'm going to stop that right there. Anyway, so moving on. So the AX370M motherboard, the DS3H. Oh, it's there. I could have just read it off the box. That'd have been a lot easier. So yeah, long story short, Windows 10 is pretty damn cool, and that's crackling. And I'm going to break. Motherboard. Right, moving on. I'll quickly have a look on the chat and see if there's anything else. What are you going to build on the Gigabyte board? Now that is a damn good question. This board freaks me out. The price freaked me out completely. So, just to reiterate, so if there's any of you guys here watching at the moment or catching this later, I bought this board from an English company, British, better say the right thing, otherwise we'll get all sorts of flaming happening. Yeah, bought this from a UK company, UK-based company, CCL, and it was on special offer. It was originally $52.99, I think it was, but there was a discount offer, so if you bought it, you would get £30 worth of Steam vouchers by redemption. So basically, go on the Steam site, or go onto the CCL site, give them some serial numbers, give them your receipt number, etc. Oh, which reminds me, have I still got the receipt? Yes, I have. A little panic attack there. Yeah, so basically they'll give you £30 worth of Steam vouchers. So that brings the motherboard price down to like just over £20. Now, since I actually did the video on this, almost the same day I think it was as I actually made the video and started uploading it, they reduced the price again. So it's even lower now. I think at the moment it's $44.99. I could be wrong, you have to check out for yourself. CCL.com, CCLcomputers.com, basically CCL. Search for this, see what the price is. It's ridiculously cheap. If you're into gaming, or you're looking at buying Christmas presents for friends, family, nephews, cousins, brothers from another mother, anything like that, 30 quid's worth of Steam vouchers, taking off the price of this, takes down to about £20 or thereabouts. £20 for a X370 motherboard is insane. I don't know where else in the world, or even in the UK, you could buy one of these motherboards for 20 odd pounds. I don't think you could. If you'd have a look through Facebook groups or eBay, I would be amazed if you can buy even a crap X370 based motherboard for less than 50 quid. I don't think you'll find it. You might be lucky, you might find some dipstick who don't know what he's got and just found it in the back of a garage and he's like, oh, do you want to buy this 20 quid? But it's really unlikely it's going to happen. With this, you buy it from a shop, you got 12 months warranty or 24 months if you go by EU rules. But basically, an X370 board for 20 odd quid, taking off the redemption. Now, it's a brilliant bargain, and you think, I've got to get one, that's an amazing price. But then you look at the board and you think, hang on, this is all a bit weird. So you get your usual stuff. Now, if you've seen the unboxing video of this, I'm sorry, but I'm going to bore you with some of it again. But this board is odd. Actually, I'm going to get rid of that, because Kath's going. I'm not an aggressive man, but sometimes. Okay, so let's look at the board. So, X370 chipset, 4 RAM slots. What are you laughing at now? Sorry, Kath's like, what's up?
You aggressive.
Oh, okay. Right, sorry about that, a brief interlude. So, look at the motherboard. So 4 RAM slots, nice thing to have. 2 RAM slots is fine on the sort of cheap end board, but it's an X370 chipset, so in theory, X370 chipset from AMD, designed for enthusiasts. So people who want to push the boundaries of what they can do with their hardware, or want to build a high-end system. With me so far? So, you look down the side, SATA connections. Now, there's only 4 SATA ports. And one of those SATA ports, I'm pretty sure, is going to be disabled when you use the NVMe slot. So, it doesn't give you a great deal of SATA ports there. So if you're looking at doing any sort of RAID or any sort of file storage or anything like that, not really an option. Coming down further, 2 PCI Express graphics port slots. The top one is PCI Express 16 times PCIe 3 times 16. The one below, PCIe 2 times 4. Now normally on an X370 chipset, the bottom one is a times 8. Sometimes times 16 I think in rare occasions, but mostly the second one is times 8. So for some reason they've kind of nerfed the second slot anyway. So if you were considering using SLI on this, which realistically for 50 quid or for 20 quid reduced, you're really unlikely to spend that kind of money on an SLI setup. So graphics card, if you're going to buy a decent graphics card for doing SLI, you're looking around about the sort of 250, 300 pound mark for like a 1070 or something like that, maybe a 1060. But 2 of them together on here is going to be completely like over the top for what kind of board it is. Then going around, you've got a little bit of RGB going on the traces down there. You've only got 3 outputs on the audio, so no 7.1 audio. Plenty of USB ports, which again is nice. But then you go around to the top, the fan header. You've got 2 fan headers, one for the CPU, which you pretty much got no choice but to use, and the other one's a fan header there. Not even at the front, where you could put in more kind of chassis fans up front, but in the back, in the exhaust position where, well, personal preference, but I would prefer air coming in rather than air being pushed out. It's, again, personal preference. But then you go further and you look at the power delivery. Now you've got 8-pin power delivery, so okay, that's looking okay. But you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, well, allegedly 6 phases there, which could be 6 phases or it could be 3 times 2 phases, which I would say for this price point is probably more likely. And then the MOSFET cooler. Nothing too outrageous, and actually it does look like it will probably do a good job because of the way it's designed. Airflow with the downward facing fan, air is going to push through there and actually probably will keep those pretty cool. But again, 3 caps there, pushes towards a 3x2 setup, which isn't great for overclocking, which again, X370 chipset designed for overclockers. So it's a really weird thing. What or who is this board aimed at? My personal opinion is that this was originally designed, now actually reversing back a bit, there isn't actually a user manual in this board or in this setup. Now whether that's on a mission or basically there's a piece of paper saying user manual, which is that essentially. So my thoughts are that this is pretty much an OEM board, or not released to many retailers, mostly manufacturers, and CCL have bought up a load of them at a good price, and they've decided not to build systems with them because X370 is a bit outdated now, so they're going for B450s or X470s, that kind of thing. So these are just being sold off cheap. But it still leads me to the question, what the hell am I going to build into it? Now obviously you can't do a full-end top-on system, and being that it's potentially only got 3x2 phases, you don't really want anything more than maybe an R5 1600 in there. An R7 1700 at a push might be okay. To be honest, it could be fine with anything in there, but if you're looking at overclocking, which generally if you buy an AMD, you are looking to get a little bit more for your money than what it comes out with the box with, or at least rely on XFR. Now if you're relying on XFR to boost anything, I can't see that power of regulation helping XFR at all. In the cooling situation, definitely isn't going to help it. So you're looking at maybe having a chassis with additional fans, with a separate fan controller and all that kind of stuff, which isn't going to be great. Anyway, I'm going to look in the comments section in a minute, and I'm going to drink some of my coffee, and I'm going to see what you guys think about it. But I don't know. I've had this board over a week now, and I still have not got a clue realistically what to do with it. At the moment, my only real thoughts are, Calf's machine over there has got the MSI, the B350 PC Mate board, I think it was, or the Pro VDH, whatever it was, which hasn't been the best of boards. So maybe changing it for this might improve her system. So that would be an easy way for me to use it, but I don't know. What do you think? You can have a look in the comments right now. What PC tower would be good? Sorry. Christ, how much have I missed here? Oh, there we go. So what am I going to build? For me, Winton, Milk Steak. Milk Steak. Hi. You don't recognise that name? Welcome. PS4 Master Race. What? Right, please everybody, can you send things to Milk Steak PS4 Master Race. Although saying that, the PS4 is actually a pretty damn good console graphically. Paul Donaldson says, Mike, do a step-by-step PC build or Raspberry Pi build. That would be boss live video. It would. It would. Actually, to be honest with you, sorry, Daisy's licking her butt. Doing a live build video is something I actually do want to do, and I have always wanted to do, but it's in this actual configuration in there at the moment, there's not a lot of room to do it, and it's not the ideal kind of height. I'd need a higher desk really to get the camera at the right angles so you can see what I'm actually doing. So this kind of area doesn't bode well for that kind of setup. And also it's difficult for me to kind of relay to Kath where I would like the camera to be coming up next without saying, like, if I was doing it offline it'd be great because I would just say, oh, move around that side and get over my shoulder. But when you're doing a live stream, you don't really want to hear that. So I don't know, it's something we're going to definitely work on, and I do definitely want to do it. But yeah, technically it's difficult to do. There's no problem, we could definitely do it, and it would be quite enjoyable to do. But it would be nice as well if Kath would get involved, because then when I'm doing stuff like attaching screws and building stuff, if she could take over and do some stuff to the camera, that would be really cool. But again, it's not She's just flashed her boobs at me. Right, we're moving on from that. Very Basil faulty. Thank you, I think. God, might give it a damn good thrashing. I am tempted to, but I might need the serial numbers to claim the Steam vouchers, so I'm not going to do it quite yet.
You just shut in the box, that's enough.
Put the Ryzen 3 1200 in it. Yes. X-Ray sent me size more for Gen 2000 support, which actually, that's a good point there actually, Tony, because I didn't actually look on here to see if it does state on the box that it's got Ryzen 2000 support, which I don't think it has. Which, yeah, actually it doesn't mention it anywhere, so I'd imagine that's another reason why these are cheap, because you will need a first gen CPU or a AMD BIOS kit to probably flash the BIOS, which would be another reason not to do a live video with this motherboard, because if I get to the point where, oh, you don't have a processor, and then I need to take the processor out of the PC that I'm streaming from, the stream dies. So, yeah. We will definitely do it. I really want to do it. I really do. I might do it Christmas Eve. That would be a bit weird. I'll wear a Santa hat. Anyway. The Ryzen 3 1200 is currently actually in the system behind me, which I took the Corsair RAM out of, which again is another system which I don't know what to do with. It was originally intended to go into the living room as a media center PC, but it's a bit too big and it's a bit too loud. It's not loud, but if any of you guys seen the video where I silenced my little mini ITX build, which actually, by the way, with the SSD drive in it now, even with that crappy AMD 4-core CPU in there, it's so quiet, and it is actually, it doesn't generate any heat. Well, a little bit of heat, it's warm, but it's not like hot, it doesn't throttle or anything. That is, of all my PCs, for usability and to actually fit the purpose it's intended for, that thing is nigh on perfect. Apart from the HDMI not working on that TV, which still bugs me, but it is actually a brilliant PC. And for what I've spent on it, which is less than £100, yeah, less than £100, it's actually fantastic. It is the best media center PC. Can you tell me whether to get a third AF25? Good evening. Hey, can you tell me whether I should get a third case fan? I don't know if I need one. I have a couple of problems with GPU temps and noise. Sorry, I had some spittle then. Oh, damn, I just closed the chat window. Boom. Right, the fan question, quickly going slightly off track because we were talking about this Sack of Spanners motherboard, which actually does look really nice. I don't know if you've seen this up close, but it is actually a really nice looking board. It's not quite black, it's like a dark brown, but it's quite nice. Anyway, I digress. Case fans, AF25. Can you tell me whether I should get a third case fan? Right, AF25, hit us up now with the comments. What case have you got, and what configuration are your fans currently? Do you have negative pressure, positive pressure? Are you front intake, rear exhaust, top exhaust? Let us know in the comments what you've got set up, and we will give you some potentially good advice. Actually, that's what we're talking about, fans, in that question. While AF25 is doing that, maybe that's something we could discuss either in detail more slightly now or another evening, is PC cooling. PC cooling's always been a massive, massive thing for me ever since probably one of my first PCs. The holy grail for me has always been a silent PC. Actually, that's probably why I like that PC in the front room so much, because it is totally silent. But that is the holy grail for me, a fast PC which does everything I want it to, plays games, isn't intrusive into the house or the home or the environment it's in, but it's quiet. Because even this, like the Surface Pro 3 that I've got here, it's supposed to be pretty much silent, but it's not. It sucks. The fan is like a really weird pitch, and it really annoys me. And I want to do a Basil Fawlty on that thing. I won't because it's expensive, and I don't care about Windows updates. Yeah, so maybe we should talk about cooling. I always figured that it would be better to get the air out of the PC, so I tended to air. I used to always put the fans on the back of the case to try and exhaust the heat straight away. But as it turns out, after some testing and watching other videos, that isn't always the best way. And actually having loads of fans as well isn't necessarily the best way. So from what I can gather and from experience, ideally you want a slight element of positive pressure in your case. So say for instance, in a simple scenario, traditional ATX case, you've got power supply which has got a fan either in the top or the bottom. You've got one rear case fan and two front fans. In pretty much most circumstances that is kind of optimal. So you've got two fans blowing in air, you've got one on the back exhausting preferably around the CPU area, and you've got another fan running at a lower rate in the power supply, taking heat away from the power supply. So the rear two are slightly less powerful than the front two, thus creating positive pressure inside your case. And that also helps to keep dust out. Whereas if you've got negative pressure, so if you didn't have the ones on the front, or you had more on the back, then you've got a negative pressure where it's pulling air in from everywhere. That actually doesn't allow it to cool as well because you're pulling in air from any vent anywhere rather than having a current flow. So slight positive pressure is what you're aiming for wherever possible. I don't know if AF25 has replied. Nope, probably gone. After all that, hey, what do I care? Kids these days, huh? So yeah, that is my 2 penneth worth. Ideally, if you're cooling a PC or anything really, you want a slight element of positive pressure to keep the dust out and to keep the airflow as optimal as possible. Which I would love one day to be able to get like one of those wind tunnel kind of things, you know, like the smoke stick, and actually prove that theory in a visible form rather than just, here's my benchmarks, I've got 3 degrees lower, because that is rubbish in my opinion. You actually want to see it. You want to see it happening. You want to see the air coming in. I might even get George from upstairs and get him to vape inside the PC and you see where all the smoke goes. Although that's probably not good for the PC either. Anyway, I'm digressing. So talked about the X370, which is actually a cool board, but for the wrong reasons. It's cool because it's cheap. And I am determined I'm going to build a really nice system out of that looks the business. I am slightly concerned about the RGB implementation on it as well, because the MSI, the B350 VDH Pro thing, the RGB implementation was crap. Basically, you could choose a color and you could make it pulse in and out. You couldn't do any of that kind of rainbow effect stuff, which spoiled it for me as well. But luckily for us, it's in Kath's desk and you can't see it anyway, so it's kind of here or there, but it would have been nice to have seen it. Anyway, let's have a look at some of these questions. So here is an idea for a series. Build a media PC for under £200. What sort of media PC do you? Are you strictly media or multi-purpose, like multimedia, consumption, games, music, streaming, watching TV, TV tuner, VCR, that kind of thing? VCR? Whoa, come on, we're not in the 80s. VCR. Wow, I actually said it. Hi, this used to be the channel with Mikesunboxing where we did technology, but now we've gone back to the 80s and we're using VCRs and Vish. We're having CRT TVs next. Yeah, Tony is actually, Welsh Tony, he's actually mentioned something very good there. If you have got questions or you want to talk about PC cooling or general stuff or budget builds or what to do or whatever you want it to be, then you need to join the Discord server. We don't need to. You don't need to do anything. You can just make it all up for yourself and learn by trial and error. If you want advice from people who are seasoned people who are seasoned in PC use, then you can come over to our Discord server. I'm on there frequently. Tony's on there frequently. See McKnight's been on there a lot recently. There's been a few others on there. Adam, etc., Harvey, all of which, so there's a big melting pot full of, I would say intellect, but that's probably the wrong word. There's a big melting pot of experience there. So if you want any questions answered, then click on the Discord link, which Kath has kindly just put into the chat there. So join the Discord server, and if you've got any questions, then we will do what we can to help you. And it's a lot easier to do there because you can basically have a one-to-one conversation with us and get some really good feedback. Anyway, I digress. Under 200 quid, blah, blah, blah. Best for cooling is actually natural pressure, but positive is better than negative. Yeah, natural pressure or equal pressure is a really, really difficult thing to achieve unless you've got, excuse me, unless you've got kind of no filters or grills on the fans and they're all running at equal speeds all the time. So yeah, negative pressure and positive pressure are actually easier to achieve in their own rights, and yeah, positive is, I suppose it is the preferred method, but it's more of a kind of, it's like a brute force thing. Daisy, stop it. Yeah, I know. What do you want, food? It's not like this is like live or anything. Let's see, Boss Paul answered, media PC for music, streaming, video watching and stuff. Gaming is a different series. Mike, anything you do is good. Paul, you seriously must have done a lot of acid in the 60s or 70s, but thank you anyway. Super Night, I went from using a Corsair high airflow, Corsair high airflow, Corsair fans to £3.50 fans. No difference in temperatures at all. That is quite often the case. Excuse the pun. The fans themselves generally won't improve airflow massively, or at least without scientific measurement, you probably would never notice it, especially with the fluctuations of general use, where throttling up, throttling down, all that kind of stuff. So even like the Asia Horse fans that I did, which I'll link to up here, they're cheap as anything, like £7 or something for a set of 2, I think they were. And they're really good fans. They weren't particularly loud, they weren't particularly fast, and they didn't have a particularly high H2O rating for radiators and stuff, but they were £3 each sort of thing. So why spend 10, 15, 20 quid on a fan if you don't really need to? Like the only ones that I've done, sorry? Who is? Oh, the fans are those?
The Asia Horseman.
Oh, the Asia Horseman. Daisy, go away. Anyway, moving on. So, what I was going to say is, with fans, Kath, get her off there, please. If that cat kills my camera, oh, I will go Basil Fawlty on that cat. I don't care if the RSPC, NSPC, whatever things come round. I love my camera. So, sorry, going back to what I was saying, right, with fans, unless you have a specific reason, there's no point in spending a load of money. Now, to completely go against what I've just said, although I did have a reason, the fans in the in-wind case behind me, now those fans are great. They're super quiet and they're also modular, so each fan is daisy chained. So all those, there's 5 fans in there, which, if I take that off, I don't know if you can just about get those. There's 3 in the bottom, 2 on the side and 1 on the rear. And there's only 1 fan header being used for PWM, so all 5 are running at the same speed. And there's a little daisy chain which goes between each fan. It just loops them all together, which also loops together the RGB effect as well. So I've only got 1 RGB header on that board, and it goes into a splitter at the back. But then that splitter goes into 1 bit for the fan, and then the fan carries on the signal. So in that instance, if you want to have more expensive fans, like those I think they're 25, 30 pounds for a pair, thereabouts. 6 fans? Hey, you're right, it is. Did I say 5? Who corrected me? Tony, he's got his eyes on today. Yes, 6 fans, I do apologise. 3 at the bottom, 2 are there, 1 on there. I do apologise, my mathematics isn't good. My maths ain't great.
Your fingers.
Yeah, I ran out of fingers. Anyway, what was I saying? Yes. Anyway, so that was the reason. So in that particular instance, because I wanted simplicity and I don't have 6 fan headers on that motherboard. Well, actually, do I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, I've got 5 headers on there, including the CPU one, so I would have needed 7. So that is a really good way of doing it. Link all the fans together. At least that way you can control them all. Just have one PWM header rather than having fans going random speeds all over the place. Anyway, those are really cool, and that is a good reason to buy expensive fans, or more expensive fans. So, what else are we going to talk about? Oh, last thing really, I suppose, unless anyone else has got any comments or questions, I was going to talk about PC component pricing and graphics card prices at the moment. This is going to end in tears. One-handed installation. I know there was 2 other things I was saying. Yeah, GPU prices and the prices rising and falling at the moment. There's a really, really weird stuff going on at the moment. So if you, like me, are in the market to buy, excuse me 1 second. Paul, I will get back to answering that question shortly. GPU prices. Okay, so if you're like me in the market for building a PC or upgrading a graphics card, it's a really odd place to be at the moment. So there's 2 ends of the market. Now you've got kind of the mid to low end, I would say. So anything up to like a Radeon RX 580, which I would say at the upper end of that spectrum, those prices are actually starting to fall, which is kind of going against the market in general. So the new cards which are coming into the country, such as some of the 1060s, 1070 Ti's, 1080 Ti's and 2080 Ti's, etc. All the new stuff, whether it's because of the import tariff, I'm not entirely 100% sure it is, or whether it's retailers and manufacturers are using that to artificially bump the prices. But anything coming into the country is costing more. Anything which is in the country already is cost what it's cost, but also because it's sat on the shelf, it's losing money. So they're reducing prices. So it's a really odd disparity between, like I said, the RX 580 at one end, which is now getting down to around about the 200, 230 pound mark, depending on which one you go for. But then going up to like the RX 2080s and the 2080 Ti's, which are kind of, they've almost gone up nearly £100 already from launch. And that's just like kind of like the Founders Editions and stuff like that. Some of the other cards which are being imported are going up even more than that. So you've got a graphics card which is over £1,000 anyway, is now like, £100 dearer. So there's a really weird time to be buying anything. So for me, for kind of looking at budget stuff or stuff which is behind the bleeding edge, it's actually really good news, because there's a lot of stuff which is actually falling in price and probably will continue to fall in price as the newer stuff comes out towards Christmas. Which also leads me to believe that the AMD 7nm process chips and graphics cards are going to be out anytime soon. Now, it's a weird thing because 7nm technology isn't really 7nm, but it's pretty close. It's generally between 7 and 10 nanometers, depending on the process and the nodes that are used. But the 7nm thing has become a buzzword and people are using it and referring to a certain generation of stuff. So yeah, it's an odd thing. So if you want to go for the older stuff, you can actually save a load of money. Now the Ryzen 5s and Ryzen 7 chips, the original ones, the first generation, those prices are starting to tumble as well. So if we get a tumble in prices of RAM prices, I think actually coming up to Christmas and into New Year, I think for budget builders like me and some of you guys, I think it's actually going to be a really good time. And I'm looking forward to hopefully getting a decent or a nice 580, RX 580, brand new in the box, including shipping, for less than £200, which I think is going to be brilliant, because that puts us basically back to 2017 prices. But I don't think we're far off it. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments, which I'm going to read now. No comments. Actually, going back, while I'm waiting for comments now, going back to Paul Donaldson, what 10 films would be first saved on your media PC? I'm not sure if I can think of 10. That's maybe a question for some of you people out there watching. If you had a media PC and you only could have one film on it, what would your one film be? Let's see if we can make 10 films up from your one. If I had to have... Well, Kath just said Dumb and Dumber would be her choice.
That's me and you.
I think, yeah, I have watched that a lot. I would say that's a pretty good one. 10 films. I don't know, there's some films which you watch
Pulp Fiction.
and never kind of get old. Pulp Fiction's probably one of them.
That's quite old now.
Yeah, Pulp Fiction's really old now, and still actually looks pretty good now. I'm thinking of a sci-fi film, but I don't know. RoboCop. That's always been a favourite of mine. I love RoboCop, and I've watched that hundreds of times, and I probably would still watch it again, because it is just that kind of, it's very gritty, and at the time it was like no one had ever done anything like it. It was really, really good. I don't know. Interesting question. I don't know. I used to have a massive collection of DivX's, if you guys are old enough or wise enough to know what DivX's were.
Debbie does donuts.
Yeah. So yeah, we had basically like a 240 CD flip out library of DivX films, which eventually basically we gave to the kids so they could watch things. And then when we got a scary letter from Virgin Media, we threw them all in the bin. Oh, RoboCop seems to be a common one. The Thing, I've never seen The Thing. I think of it when I like wake up and I look in the mirror in the morning. And like, oh. Here's an interesting question, actually, which has crept in from Mohammed. Good evening. 1 times 8 gig of RAM, 3000 megahertz, or 2 times 4, 2400 for Ryzen 3 2200G. Now that, sir, is a fantastic question, and that is a really, really difficult one, because right, initial thoughts. Dual channel works really well with Ryzen chips. We all know that, and it benefits from it. But it also, Ryzen 2200G, because of the built-in graphics, it uses system RAM to power the graphics. So higher frequency RAM means more frames per second. So I would then say, what are you using the PC for, and how many RAM slots do you have on the motherboard? That also would really have a big bearing on it. If you've only got 2 RAM slots, then 2 4 gigs, although would be better, isn't a great idea, because if you need to upgrade and you don't have any extra slots, you're royally screwed, and you're going to have to sell your RAM, probably at a loss, to replace the whole lot, which is not the greatest of ideas. If, on the other hand, you've got a motherboard with 4 slots on it, then that opens up the opportunity for an upgrade, in which case I would say Depending on the brand, I would probably go with the two 2400s and do my damnedest to overclock it to as close to 3000 as possible. Like I said earlier in the beginning of this stream, if you caught it or if you didn't, you can always check it out later. I've got RAM which is 2133 megahertz, and I managed to get it up to 3000 with a bit of tweaking. It was a little bit unstable, but 2933 and 2800 or 2866, absolutely fine. So there's a very strong chance that your two 4 gig sticks are going to overclock pretty well to 2800 at a push, 266, maybe 3000, you never know. But again, it depends on the brand. But for that particular instance, if you've got 4 slots on your board, go for the 2 sticks. If you haven't, go for the single stick. And well, I suppose again, it depends what you're doing. If it's just for casual media content, Internet Explorer, all that kind of stuff, then it doesn't really make a difference either way. If you're going to be gaming, then you want the GPU to be as fast as possible, so the faster the RAM is, the better. Hopefully that answers your question. Fast and the Furious, Tony has added to his wish list of movies. Now, I don't think I've actually seen, Paul Walker's probably going to spin in his grave now. Well, he won't spin because he's probably ashes, but he will spin into his grave. But I don't think I've actually watched an entire Fast and Furious movie, which is probably sacrilege. I probably should watch one, at least one. If you've got a suggestion of which one is the best of the series, then let me know in the chat or in the comments, and I maybe will check it out. Mike, please watch The Thing. Okay, I will. What's it about? A thing. Yeah, Robocop's getting some love. Yeah, Tony said the same thing with the RAM. Go with the 2x4. Again, it goes down to the motherboard thing, but dual channel with the higher speeds if you can. Yeah, it's a no-brainer really. Kath says Weird Science for a video. Weird Science is a great film. It is a fantastic film, and it's got a lot of characters in there, or a lot of actors rather, that have gone on to do bigger and better things. Some have done less, some are dead, but generally on the whole they've mostly gone on to do bigger things. Now it's actually one of the very early Robert Downey Jr. films, which if you watch it back and you look at him, he looks so young, it's ridiculous. But if you squint your eyes, you can almost imagine him in an Iron Man suit. Anyway, Ferris Bueller, that's another good suggestion that Kath's mentioned. Bueller. Paul Donaldson. We're quoting movie lines now. Your move, creep. I want to do it in the voice, but it's embarrassing enough being on a live stream in YouTube anyway, when in my physical condition, without doing Robocop things on. Hey?
You could put the crop top on and do that.
Weird Science. Robocop is a great movie. I really love Robocop. Robocop was actually a game changer for me in many ways. And I don't think we're that far off actually it kind of becoming a reality. Maybe in the next 20 years. Mike, what about build a cyborg on Mikesunboxing? I would love to do that. I would genuinely love to do it. I wouldn't like to lose limbs because that's obviously bad. But the thought of having kind of that kind of strength and being able to help people like Robocop did is actually pretty cool. Although, nah, it's a bit weird.
Or you could make your own girlfriend. Roll on your head.
Yeah. Tony's unsub. What is Tony unsubbing? Is that?
Watches films.
Oh, because I didn't watch the Fast and the Furious. Yeah, I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate cars, but I prefer stock cars. Not as in stock cars, as in bouncing around. As in stock, as in as they come out of the factory. for me, if you get a car, like a 3 Series convertible from maybe 96 or 97 on a P-Reg possibly, get one of those in like immaculate out of the showroom condition. It's just an amazing thing to look at and to drive and to use. Whereas you get all these kind of boy racer cars with spoilers and stickers and wider wheels and stick-on arches and stuff. And it is, I get it, because it shows originality, and I know in America it's a massive, massive thing. But for me, I kind of like the stock look, which is weird because I used to work in a car place that sold spoilers and body kits and stuff.
Blackout lights.
And blackout turbo lights and all that sort of stuff. Maybe that's why. Maybe I was scarred by that experience as a youngster.
My marketing escort stayed at
Oh, we have a question from Mohammed again. Is RAM overclocking possible in an A320 motherboard? That's actually a really good question. Yes, I believe it is. It's limited, or more limited, as in what you can tweak. You can't overclock the CPU in that chipset, but I believe you still can adjust memory, because the way that Ryzen worked, or didn't work as the case may be, with pretty much all RAM, it required some manual tweaking in some cases. So yeah, you'll find pretty much all boards will allow some modification of settings. So yeah, there possibly won't be the greatest of XMP settings available for your board, but certainly if you put your CAS latency timings in, loosen them off a little bit, up the frequency, I think you'll pretty much be pretty good to go. Mike, say hello to Megan Dawson, who is 5. Oh no, this is totally embarrassing. Well, I'm going to do it. So, hello to Megan Donaldson. Now, you're only 5, so really, oh, I can't see because my Fitbit on. What time is it? Right, it's now 10:50. So if you're up at this time of night, you shouldn't be. So, mega nuts, go to bed, otherwise you won't be going to Legoland, okay?
And Santa's watching.
And Santa is watching. You may not be able to see him, but he can definitely see you, okay? So get to bed.
Or you'll have to watch more Mikesunboxing.
Yeah, or Paul will make you watch more of my videos whilst sitting on the naughty step. If you haven't got a naughty step, then a cupboard or basement will do fine. Right, okay. Oh, hang on. Mohammed's got another question. Love your channel and your response to my questions. Here's another. What are the limitations of Win 10 inactivated? Not a lot, actually. Limitations in some respects could be positive or negative, depending on how you look at it. So first of all, you won't be able to sign into your full Microsoft account. You will sign into it, but you won't be able to have the personalization, so desktop background. I think OneDrive actually becomes severely limited. But other than that, there's not really a great deal. There is a lot of different versions of Windows 10, which can be run unactivated, and they do have different kind of outcomes. So some of them, I think the OEM version will run for, I think that's a year before it really starts to nag you crazy about activating. I believe there's also the enterprise version, which I think is 30 days before it kind of shuts down. So depending on which version you've got, but generally, overall, I don't think I know of anybody who's actually had their system completely freeze out on them, that they could not use it. So I personally always activate my Windows, even if I get problems and I've had to reactivate it and it's said that my activation is invalid because I've done it too many times. Best thing for you to do is go on to eBay, or go to somewhere like G2 Play or G2A or Voidu, something like that, and just buy yourself a cheap Windows 10 license key for OEM. You can probably get it for like £3, £4, £5, or however many dollars or whatever it is, wherever you are. but pretty much universally you can pick up these kind of slightly kind of grey keys for around about the equivalent of £5. So I'm not too sure where you are, but if you're in the UK, if you want to either send me a PM or get us on the Discord, sorry, I can get you some links to get some really good cheap license keys. Right, so what else have we got? Right, okay, so that is basically everything that we've done and talked about this week. I've still got this thing going through my head about what films I'd have on this bloody computer. And mega nuts, if you haven't gone to bed yet, seriously, like, I asked you 3 minutes ago, so come on, bed. Santa is watching. Told you this already. No presents. It's just like being a parent again, which I kind of am not anymore, really. Yeah, apart from being dad's taxi. Right, okay, so that's pretty much everything we've done this week. So what I was going to do is a little bit of a wrap up. Christmas is definitely coming, as we told Mega Nuts just now, and Santa needs ideas and he needs input on what to buy all the good boys and girls for Christmas. So, being that Santa is a very busy individual, or the kind of insert religious figure of your choice here kind of thing. So some ideas for Christmas presents. So things that I've been looking at personally. Now, if you're any way related to me or you know me on a personal level and you see these gifts, yeah, spoiler alert. Bluetooth speakers. Now, Bluetooth speakers are always a decent present. Regardless of who it's for, chances are whoever you're going to give it to has got a mobile phone or has got something they can play through it, be a TV or whatever, laptop. So these are from Neocore. It's an English company, sorry, British company, gotta stop doing that, Brexit, etc. Northern Ireland. So yeah, these are from Neocore, and a UK company, 2-year warranty, and these things are damn loud and they're really well built, but they're super cheap. So this is the A1 Wave. Now this is a sort of almost indestructible speaker, and on the back you've got stuff like USB connection for charging, micro USB, also a 3.5mm jack plug, so you can plug it into, you can use like other devices to plug into it, like a Sony Walkman if you're in the 80s, or a CD player if you're in the 90s, or I'm trying to think of something from the 2000s, which your Microsoft Zune you could plug into this. If you wanted to, that is. But alternatively, if you do not have any of those devices, you've actually got an SD card slot. So you can load up an SD card up to 256 gigs, I believe. I haven't tried it because I haven't got that kind of money to buy that kind of card, but allegedly they do work. So you get one of those, stick a load of tunes on it, stick it in there, and this crazy little thing gives you like 24 hours worth of playback on a single charge. It's got a massive battery inside it, which is why it's so heavy, and it's got really nice sound quality. So if you're looking at buying a Bluetooth speaker for someone for Christmas, and they're the sort of person who is either really messy, really untidy, drops everything, or is Angel Churchill, then this is the perfect thing for you, because it's... Maybe don't drop it on that side. But yeah, a really cool little speaker, and I think at the moment, from what I remember, they're about £15 at the moment, which for a Bluetooth speaker, which is really loud and pretty indestructible and can play from SD, is pretty awesome. And it's quite a nice looking present, which actually looks more expensive than it is. So if you give that to someone as a present, then they're going to think, oh, that's cool, they spent a lot of money on me, but really you haven't, you've cheaped out, but it's a good present nonetheless. So anyway, now if the person that you're getting this for, you like a little bit more, and you don't mind spending a little bit more money, then this is the Neocore Wave A360. Now I've done a review on this one actually a couple of days ago. Now this is essentially the same deal. So SD card in the back, which actually I left the SD card in from the review, so we'll take that out. That'll come in handy. Same deal, so USB charging, 3.5mm jack plug, so you can plug in your Walkman, your CD player, your Microsoft Zune, or whatever it may be. Obviously Bluetooth as well, both of these are Bluetooth, and you can use it as a hands-free speaker or a headset type thing. You know what I mean. So basically connect it up to your device and stick it on your desk. If you're on your computer or doing some homework or a project or something, you can have that playing your music, cool in the background, stream from your phone or whatever. You get a call come in, press the button and you can have a two-way conversation, whatever you're doing. Picks you up really well. There's a couple of microphone ports on there so you can hear yourself or they can hear you or whatever, and you can hear them coming through there. It's all good. You can also use it in conjunction with Google Assistant and Alexa and all that sort of stuff with the app. You press and hold the button, speak your command like you would if you press the button on a Google phone or Apple phone. Speak your command and it'll Bluetooth it through to your phone and through to your devices. So if you're I don't know, studying or doing some homework and it's getting a bit cold, press the button, hey, put on the heat in, blah, 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 job done. So anyway, super cool and actually really loud and an even bigger battery. This thing is good for, I think it was 30 hours at moderate volume or up to 40 hours playback. So if you're going away for the weekend and you don't want your neighbours to know you're away, you could put a load of music on there, leave it playing, go away for the weekend, come back and it'll probably still be playing. And they'll think you've been in all the time. So an anti-theft device as well as a music device. And all that, and that one, in the moment, I think is reduced down from £40 to £25. That's on Amazon. At some point in my life, I'll put links to this stuff in the description below. So you can check it out. Or you can go to, I think it's myneocore.com or neocore.com. Just check them out. It's got some really good stuff. They do Android tablets as well, which if you want to spend a little bit more money on Christmas presents, then you can get yourself an Android tablet, which they do, which I probably will be getting one of those as well, just to round off the Christmas presents. So anyway, there's those done. And what else? Let's have a quick look and see what else people have been saying. Welsh Tony loved his Walkman. Yeah, Walkmans were cool. Did you have the Sony Mega Bass? It had a little switch on the front. It turned the Mega Bass on. And I think there was one version that had a 3-bar graphic equalizer for like mid, high and bass. And you could adjust it. I think that...
Mine had a speaker built in the back.
Yeah, Kath actually had one that had a built-in speaker on the back as well. So you didn't have to use headphones. You could use it as a, well, like one of these. And you could become popular.
But real battery.
We had to use real batteries that leaked eventually. Whoever gets the smaller one is now going to think you don't like them if they heard that comment, lol. It's not always about size, Tony. Allegedly.
One got a smaller room.
Yeah. One of them's got a smaller room.
So we could
If
fix the-
if I'm talking about my hypothetical people who might be getting these presents, one of them's got a larger room, one of them's got a smaller room. So,
the speaker equal
although
that.
to be honest with you, they're probably better off with headphones, so I don't have to hear it. Right, what was I going to talk about?
Creative labs.
Another thing I was going to suggest as a really cool present is one of these. Now, if you're looking at spending about £20 on someone and they're into TV and Sky Sports and all that kind of stuff, the Tanix TV box. This is the Tanix TX3 Mini. Now, if you've not seen one of these before, these are actually really cool. It's got its own little power supply, got an HDMI cable, remote control, and basically you plug this in to your TV or any HDMI source or display, and it's got a version of Android on there, Android 7, and it's got Kodi, which you may or may not have heard of, which is used for, well, used for many things, let's say. You can put your own apps on there, you can put in things like TTV, what's the other one, Facebook, all those kind of apps. Basically, if it's on the App Store, you can install it on here, and you can play it through your TV. So, ideal thing for Christmas. You've got a couple of days off at Christmas, you want to watch some movies or something, perfect thing to do. Stick it on your telly, job done. And for 20 odd pounds, you can't go too far wrong. Now, this leads me to another thing. The reason why this is out at the moment is because I was going to do a video on how to flash the BIOS on these if you kill the device. So in the process of using my working device, basically I had to trash it so that I could show how to recover it. So I partially flashed the firmware and turned it off in the middle of it, basically bricking it. I then realised that the cable I need to flash the BIOS, I don't have. So I'm waiting on the cable to come in before I can reflash it and get it up and running. That'll be another video which you guys can check out. But I miss it already actually, the little 10x box. But it's a great idea if you're looking at something for Christmas, for a gadget lover or a techie lover, TX3 Mini, Android box for your TV, happy days. You could do a lot worse. Right, so put it in the oven.
On your little balls.
Tony's got a TX3 box on his way to him. It's in the post somewhere. Yeah, they do tend to come on the slow boat from China, don't they? Did you get yours from GearBest? I think that's where I got mine from. But it's a really good price and you get free postage, so it's all good. But again, I'll put links in the description below. So if you are buying Christmas presents, if you want to help out your pals here, Mike and Kath at Mikesunboxing, Kath's Unboxing, you can buy it from our affiliate links and it doesn't cost you any more. You pay exactly the same price, but GearBest or Amazon or wherever give us a tiny little kickback just to say thank you for promoting their products and sharing their links, etc. They're not really promoting their products because it's stuff that we're using anyway. It's a happy coincidence that they sell it and we can promote it, and well, you know how affiliate links work. Just help us out, click on the links. So let's go back to originally what Paul was asking about the camera? Right, the Thea i60e. Now I took this out today. We went to Bath today because I need some bigger trousers because I'm getting quite large. I need to exercise more, but I'm not, so it's easier to buy more clothes than what it is to exercise. It's not entirely true. Just needed some new trousers because I ripped the other pair. I should have had 2 pairs on, like George's favourite joke, which, no, actually I'm not going to go there. Anyway, this is the Thea i60. Now let's just turn this on so you can see what it's like. Now, I don't even know, how big is that, Kath? Is that 2.5 inches? No, 2 inches?
Yeah.
It's about 2 inches. Basically, it's tiny. And if you can just about see on the back, it probably won't focus in straight away, but you get the general idea. So on the back of the screen, it's 8 inches. It is. That's why Kath can't park. So you get the idea. So on the back of the camera, you've got a display of what the camera lens can see, and you've got things like, it tells you if your flashcard's in, it tells you the Wi-Fi strength, because you can actually use Wi-Fi to connect. So you can actually control this camera from your mobile phone with the app. It tells you the battery level, which mode you're in. So at the moment this is set to 1080p, 30 frames per second. But I can change that by pressing the button on the front. So if I press that goes into picture mode. So it takes 8 megapixel pictures. Press it again, goes into slow motion mode. Slow motion mode? Slow-mo. Slow-mo. Go into slow motion mode. So that switches down to 720p, but then you do 120 frames per second, which if you've ever played with any slow motion photography, is mad. It really is kind of engrossing. The more you do, the more you see, the more you want to watch it. Now I did some stupid stuff, basically in a sink in a kitchen, just watching the water going down the sink. And even that is exciting or interesting in slow motion. And it's not quite as good as like these really high frames per second cameras, like where you pop a balloon and you see it all go out slowly. But it's not a million miles off. 120 frames per second is actually really quick. And if you put that down to a quarter speed, giving you 30 frames per second, it's actually it looks really cool. Anyway, I digress. So slow motion, and then you press it again, it gives you playback mode so you can see what you've actually done. So if there we go. So that's me walking down the road, which you probably are not going to be able to see whatsoever. but that was some footage earlier on today. So you can see your playback, and actually because the screen's quite large, it's actually you can see what is going on. It's quite cool to use it. Anyway, you get the general idea. So, and then you've got a menu, so you can go and you can change settings, like you can turn the microphone on and off. You can set up for, what's they call it, time lapse, all that kind of stuff, or stop motion footage, stuff like that. You change the language, whatever. But one cool thing of this, which I noticed today actually when I was charging it up, plug it into a PC to charge it up, and it comes up on the menu on the back and it says, how do you want to use this? Do you want to use it to transfer files, webcam, or charge only? I thought, oh, actually, that's pretty cool. So for the price of this, which I'll get Kath to quickly look up now, is the TI i60e, which for the price of this, which from memory is about £35–40, which isn't a lot for an action camera, especially a 1080p one, but to have it so that you can actually use it as a webcam as well, it's actually really cool, because that ticks a lot of boxes. If you're a budding YouTuber or you want to make your own content, so you can take this out and about with you, you can record your footage, put it on your PC, and then you can put it into webcam mode and use this to stream or to record more stuff to the camera, you know? It's a great little kit. Comes with 2 batteries in the box, and you get this little sort of GoPro-esque case, waterproof case, which actually, for the record, is waterproof, because that's how I tested the underwater footage. And you get the kind of hot shoe type mount with a 1/4" thread, so you can attach it to pretty much any camera or any sort of standard camera fit-in. All the GoPro accessories fit on it fine, no problem at all. And again, with it being waterproof in that thing, you can pretty much do what you want with it. You can attach it to your head, you can take it in the bath, take it on the beach, do whatever you want. It's an action camera, and best of all, it's like half the price, well, no, more than half the price of the, sorry, less than half the price. Oh God, you know what I mean? Basically, it's 1/10 the price of a decent GoPro. So if you take it out with you and you're doing some stuff, worst case scenario, you lose it, you drop it, you smash it, whatever, it isn't a lot of money to waste. It is, but it isn't in comparison to what it could be. And if you've got a DSLR or a smartphone and you don't want to take that out with you, especially if you've got an expensive one, you don't want to get it damaged when you're doing some action photography or you're just out filming, this is a great idea. And for the money, how much is it now?
$39.99.
Right, okay, I think they've slightly changed the model from what I can see from Kath.
i60 Plus.
It's called the i60 Plus now, but basically it's the same thing. And you're looking at 30, what was it, Kath? $39.99. So if you want to get someone an action camera for Christmas, this is a damn cool piece of kit. And the battery seems to last for ages, and so you get 2 of them in the kit. And I can't really see from on the screen there, but yeah, it's pretty good. So 40 quid, and what Paul said earlier, actually, I might get one of these or a couple of these and send them to that children's hospital so the kids can film a bit of, sorry, so the kids can film some messages for their parents and what have you. Seems like a nice thing to do for the channel, and I'll put it from all of us. Oh, and Kath's just put a link on there. And it's an affiliate link, isn't she good? Welsh Tony, I've got a video on my channel from Zip World in North Wales, and it's filmed on very similar cameras to that one. They are a decent camera. Yeah, thank you, Tony. So, oh yeah, and if you want to spend a little bit more money, this is not really Christmas present territory. This is more kind of personal gift to someone you actually really like. This is the Wonder 360 camera. So this is effectively the same thing. It's an action camera. Now, if you've seen the Samsung 360, this is essentially a clone of it from Wonder, a company called Wonder. And this is a 360 camera. So if you look on the channel, search for 360 or Cardiff. Me and Kath went for a walk through Cardiff Bay and Cardiff Lock, or Docks, or whatever you want to call it, and we've done some 360 degree footage, and it's really good. You can actually go through and you can scroll through. If you don't want to look at my ugly mug, you can spin around, you can look at Kath's ugly mug, and if you don't want to see either of us, you can spin around and see all the stuff that was in Cardiff Bay at the time. So these are a little bit more expensive, you're looking at about 150, but these are actually really cool. And as a 360 camera, you can do it for streaming, for your phone and all that sort of stuff. A little bit over the top for what I wanted it for, but I'm sure at some point it is actually going to come in very, very handy. But I think with these, it's a slightly more niche product. But even though it's 360-degree camera, you can actually frame it so that it will only show a kind of like a 1080p section, which you can be the director of. So if you're concerned about not getting the shot you're after, or you're concerned about image stabilization, with this you don't need to be, because you're encapsulating everything. So if you frame a shot, it's perfectly still and stable, and even if it moves around, because you framed it, it will always be stable. So it's got like a 9-axis gimbal in there or something crazy to keep it really, what's the word? You know, like bounce free, stable. I am losing the will to live. Anyway, so that has been pretty much all the gift ideas that I've had. Another one, which I just thought of actually, if you do a lot of driving, and I know they've clamped down really badly on drivers using their phones. This time of year, if you get any messages or any texts or anything, or someone calls you, you never know what it's going to be. Could be an emergency, could be a burst pipe at home, could be someone's had a slip, a trip, or a fall, or the storms have been and it's blown off part of your roof, or your trampoline's ended up in your neighbour's garden or something like that. People want to get hold of you, but when you're driving, you're not supposed to answer the phone. So the Creative Labs, the Outlier 1 Plus, is actually a really cool thing. So if you like Bluetooth speakers, excuse me, if you like Bluetooth speakers but you want to keep it a bit more personal and you don't want everyone to know that you're listening to Take That or Bros, this is actually a really good alternative. Again, similar sort of price, about £20, but you can put a 4 gigs worth of music on there, and also it's a Bluetooth headset. So if you're driving along, you can have that on, you can listen to your own personal selection of music rather than listening to the drivel on heart, like the 30k triple play. Oh my god. Oh, if I hear that again, I will do something desperate. That has been going on for so long now. I don't think I've known a time when they haven't done a 30k triple play. And the amount of people that phone in for that at £1 a minute or whatever, they pay for that 30k in the first couple of weeks before anyone's even won it. People will never learn. Anyway, I digress. But a really cool present. If you want to buy this for someone who does a lot of driving, or you want to keep in contact with, or actually is into running or fitness or sports, this is really cool. It's IP rated, so it's splash proof, sweat proof and all that kind of jazz. Bluetooth headset with the feature of having an MP3 playback as well. Really cool. In actual fact, I do wear this whenever I'm doing the gardening or putting the washing out or anything like that, or even vacuuming, because listening to a vacuum is weird, because when you listen to a vacuum and there's no one else in the house, you hear voices. Or is that just me? Am I completely batshit crazy? Maybe. But you do that kind of white noise and you kind of hear things into it, or it's like, oh, did I hear the doorbell then? No, you didn't. It's just your mind doing stupid stuff because there's white noise. So you hear stuff. So I just put my headphones on, put some music on, and then I do the shake and vac and I put the freshness back. It's all good. All right, let's have a quick look and see what the comments are. One of the only videos you'll catch Kath on. Yes, that is true. If you want to see Kath in her full glory, I think you see her in her full glory. No, she doesn't. She hides most of it. But yeah, if you want to see check out the Cardiff 360 video we did. It's actually quite popular. Quite a lot of people have liked it. Will it play Crisis? Potentially. Yeah, that 30k triple play. No, that is just me. So, am I on my own with that? Do people not hear like the front doorbell or think their phone's rang or something like that when the vacuum's going? Have I got some psychological issues I need to resolve? Actually, I think I know the answer to that one already. Right, guys and girls. Don't know if there's any guys and girls there. You never know, could be. Well, this has gone on a lot longer than expected. I expected this only to be an hour-long stream. It was 2 hours and a quarter already. So, hula hop video flap fap fap. If there's any other questions, put them in the comment section below and I will answer them. Or actually, yeah, due to live streaming. Actually, me drinking this coffee again, I got something stuck in my throat and I'm not going to give in to it. Damn you tonsils. Yeah, live streaming on a Friday is a little bit problematic because Kath's got a job now where her shifts and working patterns are a little bit weird and they do change quite a lot. So we may not be able to do Fridays all the time, but we will try and do them wherever we can. Luckily today was a day off for Kath, so we managed to get everything we needed sorted so we could do this for you guys. Kath's off again next Friday, so we should be good for next Friday evening. So if you want to stick around for a chat and a laugh and a giggle and look at some ridiculous bits of technology, then please join us next Friday. We'll try and do it at the same sort of time, about 9 o'clock, and I will try not to be late, although I can't guarantee it. What else am I going to say? Yeah, so that is pretty much it. If you've got any comments or questions or anything, please join us on the Discord server. There's also a Facebook group as well. Don't forget to smash the like button. Help me out, guys. Click on the like button, get the likes up. Click on subscribe, share the videos with your friends. Let's try and get the channel up to 6,000 subs by the end of the year, which would be fantastic, which is weirdly more than I deserve, I think, but people enjoy the content, it seems, and I've been helpful, so long may it continue. I remember when we started this that I said it'd be quite nice if we got 100 people to watch the videos, and well, we've gone past that, so let's see how far we can push this. So with your help, we'll make this thing a thing. That was terrible. And yeah, the Thing from Paul Donaldson's favourite film, we will make the channel into the Thing. Although I haven't seen the Thing, so I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but oh, this is spiraling out of control now, guys. Right, there's no more questions in there. So just leaves me to say thank you to everyone who's stuck with us tonight and stuck with us with the channel, actually. So, C. McKnight, you've been brilliant in the Discord server and also watching the videos. Same for you, Tony. Paul, fantastic. Thanks for being with us. Whoever else's names I've missed out or forgotten, don't think I'm not grateful. I am very grateful to all of you for taking the time to spend it with me and Kath. You've all become part of our kind of extended family, so we're very grateful and you are all very welcome. But that pretty much is time for us to wrap it up. If you've got any suggestions for videos or stuff you'd like to see done or items you'd like to see reviewed, stick them in the comments, send me a private message on Facebook or whatever it may be. Just let me know and let us know which direction you want us to go, because after all, this channel is for you. Although it's stuff I'm interested in, I want it to be stuff that you guys are interested in as well. And if you want to see Kath in the videos, then give us all an F. F's in the comments. She says it won't work, but eventually it will. She'll give in eventually. She always does. No, she doesn't. So anyway, this has been Kath and Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To. Thank you all so much for being with us this evening, and we will catch you again in the very next stream. Thanks for watching. Good night.